It's nice to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So let's get into your life and your work. And I want to begin with 5 years ago, we were figuring this pandemic out. It began, it was something we didn't know, how we were going to get through it. How did you get through the pandemic and how has that affected your life today?
Well, luckily for me, I was in school at the time, so I had kind of something to distract me, which is very good because um, I also went through yeah, I had something to distract me, which was good. So.
Yeah. So let's get into what you do today for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, sixth graders. It's career day. One of the kids is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't make money now because of my benefits, which we'll get into.
Okay.
And I can't make any money until I move into my permanent housing that I'm going to be living on my own in. Um, and even then I can only make so much money, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
But I would say I'm a podcaster and I mess around with computer stuff. And if I do something that I think is worth selling, I'll try to sell it. That's what I would say.
So let's go back to the beginnings, where you were born and raised, and how did you become a podcaster? And kind of talk to me a little bit about moving out and income levels and jobs and what your future looks like.
So, I was born in 1996, proud millennial with cerebral palsy, and I I became a podcaster because I've always loved the show Survivor, and I've always for lack of a better term, wanted to emulate Jeff Probst, the host, because I think the host and showrunner, because I think he's one of the best to ever do it. And I also love Rob has a podcast, which if you love reality TV, you have to listen to that podcast. They talk about all things reality TV, and they are hilarious. So I was listening to him one day, and I said, "How hard could it be?" And by the way, the answer is very. And That's how I started, and I've been doing it ever since.
So talk to me a little bit about you had mentioned moving out and income levels, things that are kind of a part of your future. What's going on with that?
So I am going to be moving out on my own eventually, and I'm on Medicaid, and which funds my wheelchair. It functions as a secondary insurance, and once my mom retires, it will function as my primary insurance, which is good because Virginia is the best state in the union for Medicaid, but it's bad because at the federal level, you can only have $2,000 in assets if you want to qualify for, you can have no more than $2,000 in assets if you want to qualify for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all of which I need. And Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid go by the same limits because they're all dispense. Like if you qualify for Social Security, then you can have those other things too.
Gotcha.
So you have to have Social Security to get Medicaid. Social Security is SNAP benefits to get Medicaid, and Social Security or SNAP benefits to get yeah, you have Social Security or SNAP benefits to get Medicaid, excuse me. Um and then so if I exceed the $2,000 asset limit for SSI, then I lose everything basically. And right now, the way the code is set up, retirement accounts count toward assets. And if you get married, they count, or live together even, they count the spouse's income against you. And it can only be 3,000 in assets for a couple, which means one person in the couple can only have $1,000 in assets.
Gotcha.
So there is legislation out there to change this because this is absolutely ridiculous. How do you expect us to live off of $2,000 in assets and in Virginia, a $36,000 salary? And our governor's been amazing with the Medicaid, but there's a nasty federal stipulation that it can't be above that it can't be above a certain I'm sorry, it can't be a certain percentage above the poverty line. So if you were to try to raise a salary, it might affect that. I'm not sure, but it might. So he's done everything he can at the state level to make these services better for us and allow us to work. And he's actually found some workarounds that we'll get into. Um, but still, we are kind of hamstrung by these federal regulations because we're like, do we work or do we fund our wheelchair? Or do we get married or do we keep the services? So,
Yeah, I totally get it. So, who's been an inspiration for you, whether it's in podcasting or your dreams that you have? Who's been that hero for you?
well, one is Rob Cesternino, host of Rob Has a Podcast. He is amazing. He's like, I'm a patron of his, which means I support him monthly through his Patreon program. I haven't been on a patron call in a while, but just an amazing guy, hilarious. I hope to do half of what he's done with his podcast with mine. So, that and then um Jeff Probst because I just think he's a wonderful human and a wonderful producer and so brilliant of a producer. He has brilliant questions um, when he's interviewing people, even if it's just at tribal council or on his old talk show that he used to have, which I remember, which if he hears this, he's probably going to be like, you remember that? Yes, I've been with him for that long. Um, and I just think he's brilliant at what he does. So him, and then also, um, not to get political, you can cut this out if you uh feel like this is too political, but I was really profoundly impacted by J.D. Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, because he describes he came from an area that was really poor in North Carolina, Appalachia, and he describes his struggles with the welfare system and his people's struggles with the welfare system. And I didn't grow up in the same violence that he did, thank God, but his struggles with the welfare, that's my life. So, um, and in the last 4 pages of the book, if you get the second edition, which if you download it on your Kindle, it should be the second edition. But of course, the audiobook doesn't read the last 4 pages that were added with the second edition. So you would have to read those yourself. I'm like, those are the 4 pages you choose not to read. Okay. But but he actually makes the argument for the welfare reform in that, like what I said, you if you work full time or do anything productive, basically, you would make too much money to qualify for the services, but not enough to pay for it out of pocket. So it's sort of ridiculous.
Yeah. So, what's your philosophy on life? How every day do you wake up and to continue to evolve, do your podcasting, dream for a better future? How does that work for you?
um, I've never been asked that question. Um, I would say just know that the reforms are on the horizon because it's starting to be talked about now. Thank God. because our social security system as a whole is just completely messed up. So it's starting to be talked about, thank God. But I would just say hope the reforms are coming, and they will probably be coming sooner than you think. And even if they don't, your parents are very generous, so they will financially back you with what you can't afford. So that might not be the most profound answer, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. So if you could get a dream person to be on your podcast, you could pick one person, who would it be?
okay, I actually have three. Is
Okay.
that okay?
Yeah.
Jeff Probst,
Yeah.
Johan Hari.
Okay.
Um, if you haven't read his books, you need to.
Okay.
He writes about different society and cultural issues. Like you wrote one about drug addiction. His newest one is about the weight loss drugs, and the good and the bad of it. And he's hilarious, and he's a Brit, so I love his accent. Um, Not to get too political again, but JD Vance,
Okay.
regardless of his political views, I thought his book was fascinating and his story is fascinating. And he just seems like he's got a great sense of humor and is hilarious, regardless of what you think about his politics. So he would be the third person.
So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done up to this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Graduating college, I would say it took me 8 years, and it's the only thing that my parents and especially my poor grandmother ever wanted. So I did it, and I'm unsure about whether I will go back to school for a law degree or something like that. But I did it once. I'm not sure I'm crazy enough to do it again. But that's uh,
What about the best advice? What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
ooh. Um, Best advice I've ever gotten is one, I've never met him in person, but Jeff Probst, above all else, treat people well. I think that is great advice. And my dad, he told me once that no amount of money is worth my dignity. So those two pieces are probably the best advice I've ever got.
So let me ask you this. If you were to get into a room with everybody that knows you, that everybody that you've known somewhat in your life, and you could go up to a podium and tell them one fun thing about you that maybe they don't realize, a fun story, what would you tell them?
A fun story that they didn't know. Wow. I've never thought about that before. Um,
Or a fun
I
fact? Not, yeah, just a fun fact about you.
I guess that like they all know I love Survivor, but I doubt they know the level of fandom that I have. So probably that. I would expose them to my whole level of fandom, and then if they were still wanted to be around me after that, they were they're solid. So
Yeah. So, where do you see your life in 10 years from now? What, as far as you're obviously a dreamer, you're obviously working hard, you just graduated college. What do you see your life in 10 years?
oh well, right now I'm just trying to get through getting this move done. But hopefully I will be watching whatever president we have in office sign the bills that have been out there for decades to reform the Social Security and thus Medicare and Medicaid, the SSI Restoration Act, and the SSI Savings Penalty Elimination Act are two of those. You can go to realwithit.com/reform to learn all about what we're doing, all about our advocacy initiative in that respect. So shameless plug there. So hopefully I will be watching whatever president sign that into law. And that's about it.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. So let me ask you this. If you could travel to one place on the planet, where would you love to vacation?
Oh my gosh. I've always wanted to go to Italy since I was like 2 years old and
It's
try
beautiful. It's
authentic
wonderful there.
pasta.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just got a passport. So
Cool.
hopefully I can now um maybe in the next decade or so go to Italy. So
Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Florence? Do you want to go to Rome? Where do you think you want to go?
um I don't care honestly. Like wherever the best pasta is.
It's
Pasta,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pasta and pizza.
I love it.
Wherever that is.
It's totally different over there. In fact, the thing that got me the most when I was there, tiramisu is typically like a cake here. It's in a cup there. They layer it, and it's unbelievable.
Yes. Now I will try um ter tiramisu too.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
when did you go over there?
I had a pen pal in high school, and I went over and visited her around 2000. And then I went back over there about a year later and went through some more. But my ancestors came to America from Italy, so that's where my bloodline's from. So I kind of got to see where everybody came from, and it's beautiful over there.
Yeah. So yeah, I will email you and reach out to you and be like, Joe,
Yeah,
where should I go? But
yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, everyone that you know, but you are in control. What is your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
oh goodness. Um I I think I'm a lot more fun than I would seem sometimes because I do struggle with, uh, anxiety and a form of OCD. So it's not the stereotypical OCD that you see on TV, but it is a form of OCD or a step below OCD. So I'm a lot more fun than I show a lot of the times. I'm so that would probably be in my perception of me is like I take my advocacy seriously, but I can still, have fun and do it.
Good deal. So, if anybody's been inspired, they want to listen to your podcast, they want to reach out to you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Realwithit.com. Uh, there you have a place you can contact us, subscribe to the audio feed of the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel for the podcast. It's all right there. Follow us, follow the pod and me on social media. My social media is under the About section. And yeah, it's all there. You can contact me from there, or you can just email hello@realwithit.com.
Okay.
And yeah, I would be more than happy to talk to folks. So
Yeah, I get that totally. Devin, this has been wonderful. Best of luck with everything. I can't wait for you to get to Italy, and good luck with it all. You got a lot going for you.
thank you. This is by far one of the best interviews I've ever done. So
I love it. I love it every time. Excellent. Well, again. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.